Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 1 of Langrisser I&II, the remake. It's here. It's been here for a hot minute, but I'm just late to the party, as per usual. Well, this is your pal PDK, thanks for joining me, and this is not going to be blind. I have been putting a bit of time into it already. However, we're starting with Langrisser I, and we're going to be exploring some of the new paths and additional content that's been added to this version that I have not seen. So far, I've only cleared standard B route, which even though it's B, it's really the most true to the original version, also known as War Song. So I've been trying to hold out, and I'm surprised at how patient I've been. It's been tough, but I've kept myself from going full ham so we can experience this together. And maybe some of you have gotten farther than I have, and that's fine. But for those of you who are fresh in the journey, this is for you. This is for me. This is for we. So how about we get to it? First thing, let me just check my settings. I did a couple of quick test runs to try to make sure the AV quality is good all around, so we'll see how well it holds up. Recording in 1080p is not always easy on my processor, but we're gonna try to make it work. This is not the most intensive game, so I think it'll be okay. I have a no commentary run coinciding with this. That is for those who prefer strictly gameplay without the talking, because there are folks who enjoy that more. I personally prefer both, depending on both the game and the presenter and my own mood at the time. Some things I can watch without talking. Sometimes it's good to hear their point of view, their perspective, the why behind their what and the how. So I'm trying to cater to both sides. So feel free to check that out if you prefer. If you want to check out both, that's great too. So I say all that to say, in the no commentary version, I've been playing strictly with the remastered art and music. For this version, we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna switch it here and there because this old art style, at the risk of making some folks mad, I'm just gonna come out and say that you can't compete with this. It's really in a class by itself. They really don't make it like this anymore. But we're gonna start off with remastered and go from there. Music, I'll probably play around a little bit, but we can leave it on modern for the most part. We've heard the old tunes plenty of times, it's fine. We haven't seen too much of this in the actual games though, so that I will be showing off a lot more. But anyway, I think this is good for now. We're probably gonna skip battles eventually, but I'm gonna leave them on for now. And I think this is good. Let's get to it. So we're starting off with the first one. And you know what's funny? There's a new character that's been added to this that's pretty significant. And in my first playthrough, I didn't see her at all. So that just goes to show you how far these branches can deviate. But anyway, let's get to it. Too much talking. Hello. What's going on with you, Miss Goddess? And she's dressed nice for the summer. And it's almost about that season. And I'm too used to Luciris, so I think that's what I'm gonna call her. You see, she's been waiting for us. Sorry we kept her waiting. Sorry, I kept her waiting, not you guys. So a lot of you are familiar with this, the character creation quiz. It's been called. There's a little less creativity involved in this version. It's pretty straightforward. There's not as many chances to customize your character to your liking. Unlike during Langrisser, you can't change his starting class, for example. He's always going to start as an infantry fighter. This time, I'm going to just go for the direct, straight, honest answers. I'm not going to put a lot of thought into it. What I get is what I get. So let's do it. And I think moving forward, any Langrisser related LPs I do that involve this sort of quiz, I'll do the same because it'll make it more interesting. I'm not going to worry about maximizing things. When the world is facing a catastrophe, what will you rely on to save us all? Well, if it was really up to me, You know, normally I would say knowledge. Most times I would say knowledge, but if I'm being completely honest, when I really think about it, there's so much to be said that isn't said about faith. And completely remove any religious connotation you affix to that word, as we often do. If you look at faith for what it actually is and what it truly means, regardless of if you are religious or not, if you consider yourself to be spiritual or not, whatever you do or don't believe in, everybody exercises faith in some area of their lives. Whether it's faith that you're going to have your job tomorrow, whether it's faith that your husband or wife is going to still be there laying next to you tomorrow morning, whether it's faith that, you know, your children are going to go to school, whether it's faith that this food is going to nourish you, or this water is going to quench your thirst. You can't live without faith. And I may be oversimplifying it, but I think you get where I'm going. So when it comes to catastrophe, when so much is removed out of our control, we realize how little say-so we actually have over things, how small our jurisdiction is. I think it's times like that where you really have to be humble and lean on faith. Now, that doesn't mean you don't do anything. It doesn't mean that you just sit on your butt and wait for things to happen, but faith can go a long way, especially when it's applied purposefully, intentionally, faithfully. Okay, we're saying faith. Is basically what I'm saying. And so this led to a question that I don't usually see. How do you view demons? Okay, I don't really like any of these because, again, I don't want to get long-winded here, but, you know, I'd like to be candid with you guys. Now, the word demon is a very interesting word, and we can discuss the etymological origins of it another time. But demon always carries a negative and bad connotation, and I don't want to misconstrue anything. I don't want to give you the wrong idea. I'm not saying that, you know, demons are good, but I'm just saying that word demon has one of those words. It's been applied to a lot of things, and it appears in a lot of words. You ever look at the word democracy, demonstration, demo? You know, there's a similarity there, don't you think? So the word demon is typically being given a negative, bad, malevolent connotation when it doesn't have to mean that. In the context of this game, demons are typically evil enemies. I definitely wouldn't say worthy of worship. And I definitely wouldn't want to say insignificant because in my mind, everything is potentially significant, especially if it's a living thing. All living things are significant. So I don't really like any of these answers. But in the context of what we're doing, and see, that's another thing. Because this has new routes and paths, this might potentially lock me on a certain path or impede my path. It might prevent me from going a direction I want to go. So this is tough. The honest answer, what I would answer is not really here. My honest answer would be, it depends on the demon, or the demons, the type of demon themselves. Or I would say I view them as significant, but not all powerful. And nothing here really reflects that. Oh man, oh man. In the context of this game, evil enemies would probably be the way to go. I don't like this answer. I don't like this. At the same time, a lot of times we're very superstitious and we believe in things we don't fully understand. Shout out to superstitious. But I will say that, yeah, I think a lot of times we're afraid of things that we give too much credit for. It's like the old saying, the devil made me do it. Are you sure the devil made you do it, or did you do it yourself? Did you choose to do that? It's not that things can't influence you, but I'm not sure that they always compel you. Anyway, I don't like this answer. We're going to say insignificant, simply meaning that they can only do so much without your acceptance, without your approval, without your allowance, as it pertains to a certain kind of demon. But anyway, moving on. Oh, this is going to be longer than the actual battle, watch. But I'm taking this very seriously. I'm being honest, but I'm also taking it to heart. We're role-playing, guys. Truly. More than most. What do you believe is the most important trait of a ruler? And you're learning a lot about me along the way. Maybe I'll learn about you as well. Drop your thoughts down below. I'd like to know your thoughts. How would you answer this? What do you believe is the most important trait of a ruler? All of these are potentially good answers. Charisma can go a long way, as far as keeping morale and support intact, if people don't like you, they're probably not going to want to follow you or be faithful to you. Probably not going to listen much either. Yeah. Determination goes without saying why that's important. Decisiveness is also very important. It's something that I've not been doing. Well, it's not that I haven't been decisive, I've just been on tangents. The most important trait is the key here. What trumps everything else's importance? I would have to say, as a ruler, being responsible for many people and many things. That's a lot of weight on one person's shoulders. So what is going to be the #1 determining factor of your effectiveness as a ruler? I would say decisiveness, because what sets the ruler apart more than anything else is the ability to make the hard decisions at a moment's notice. And the quicker you can do that, the more effective the decision will be. So I'm going to say decisiveness. What's the most important trait? You could talk a little louder, by the way, or you could talk a little bit quicker. What's the most important trait to have on the battlefield? Again, all good options. I would say, honestly, I think the most important trait would be... You know what? I normally say tactical genius, but honestly, in a battlefield, anything can happen at any given time. So let's say the off chance something happens that you didn't account for in your strategy. What's going to carry you through? I think composure, because as long as you can keep calm and keep cool, you'll be able to figure something out. Or an opportunity will present itself that you might have missed if you were too caught up in your pre-laid plans, or caught up in your anxieties or your worries or your emotions or your thinking. So we're going to say composure. So this is going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing how this turns out, because this is very different than how I normally do this. What would your ideal squad be like? Okay, now we have the questions that you get every single time, no matter what you've answered before. So here, my ideal squad. Honestly, I think Elite Few, which is what I normally would answer, is pretty much the honest answer too. I'm a firm believer in quality over quantity. It's like my circle of friends in real life. My circle of friends is not the widest, but the friends that I do have, they're AAA. They're the cream of the crop. I wouldn't trade them for anything in the world. And that includes family as well. The family that I am friends with, at least. I guess most of us have someone in our family we're not that chummy with, but that's just how it goes. Elite Few. Lastly, what do you fight for? Do I fight for glory? Do I fight for my home? Or do I fight for my loved ones? I normally say my loved ones, and I think that's pretty accurate. I definitely don't do it for glory. To me, home and loved ones are basically tomato, potato. It's the same thing, basically. My loved ones. We do it for love. So he's starting out with a lot of HP. Oh, because he gets an Aurora bracelet. I remember that accessory. And he gets some pretty decent skills to start. They don't match up from a character standpoint, but in terms of the stats it's going to give me, that's not bad. Attack, defense, dexterity. I believe dexterity affects your critical rate, but I'm not 100% sure. Alright, let's go. I'm good with this. Yeah, we're going to start the game. And we don't want to initiate an easy mode, because this game, unfortunately, is pretty easy as is. Compared to the original, especially, you're going to find out. It might cause me to be overconfident in certain situations and make unnecessarily stupid mistakes, but we'll see. We'll see. So anyway, let's start with the synopsis. 手にした者に無限の力を与えると言われている伝説の秘剣ラングリッサー。バルディア王家によって守られてきたその剣を狙ってダルシス帝国皇帝ギゴスが大軍団を従えてバルディア城を包囲してきた。ダルシスの王宮魔術師の魔法がバルディア城を赤く染める。You know, some things don't change. I always feel bad talking over voice acting because I have a lot of respect for the folks who do that, so there you go. Plenty of time to read it for yourself, though, if you like. So, I kind of like their approach to starting off the prologues in every scenario now. You know, you can read the synopsis at your leisure, and we can also use the right trigger, or the right bumper, RB, I'm not sure what they call this. You can use that button to take a look at the enemies you're going to be facing. As you wait for the allied army to arrive, meet an arm and escape from the castle, pretty much telling you what you need to do. And we can also see a layout of the map. Very faithful to the classics. Some modifications. It takes after the dramatic edition and the PC versions of Langrisser I and II more so than the 16-bit versions. But still not too far off. And as for the shop, we still have that, which is good. As per usual, it doesn't start you off with anything spectacular. Don't have anything to sell except what we started with. And that's what's different about the quiz in this version. Any modifications to the stats come almost strictly through equipment that he's given to start with, whereas before, you could earn equipment through the quiz, but also any modification to the stats would just be innate. So I kind of missed that aspect. And oops, I exit out too soon, so we've got Ledin, aka Garrett. But we'll be going with Ledin since that's his actual original name. And Volkov, who's also known as Baldarov, Old Baldy in some circles. Not just as powerful as ever, but more so. He is a monstrosity in this version, so we're going to be cruising. We are going to be cruising. He doesn't need any equipment, so we're not going to bother. We can look at our class tree. I like some of the changes that have been made here. We'll talk more about that as we accumulate points to actually do something about it. Some of the changes, not so much, but overall, I think it was a nice revision. And he can become a ranger. That's interesting, in theory. And you would think getting 20 points to make that happen wouldn't be too much of an order, but we'll see how it goes. If I get the chance, I think I'll do that just for fun. And you can check out their spell list. Spells are a great way to earn experience in this version. Mercenaries, you can see who they're able to hire. Skills, this is a new element that is a nice addition. You can equip different skills to your character to kind of customize them a little bit more than usual. So we're starting off with a 20 HP bonus and 10 attack, 5 dexterity, which is where that came from. Now we can also equip Trainee Soldier, which I think is the default he comes with, but it automatically equips you with what it deems to be the better bonuses. And I have to agree, 5 defense alone doesn't trump any of these. And you could actually use this as a method of debuffing some people who are overly powerful already, who you don't want to get too much experience. So what I could do is give him Trainee Soldier to make him less effective, so he doesn't just one-shot people he's not intended to one-shot. And I definitely want to take off that plus 40 attack and replace it with something a little bit more defense-oriented, which is his primary goal, I think. He just wants to act as our shield because he's so good at it and he's so eager to do it. And that's why I feel should be given the job as well. Not just the ones who are qualified to do it, but the ones who are enthusiastic about doing it. Because it goes a long way. First things first, in case anything goes wrong, we're going to save our game. I'm going to save here. Got a lot of save files on there. Don't pay any attention to that stuff though. Let's get going. It's been a lot of talking. Almost 20 minutes. And you can use right trigger to speed that up if you want. You can zoom out to get another look at the map if you want. Hidden items are no longer invisible. You can actually look at the glimmers on the screen. There's usually 2 per map, so at first I didn't like that change, but after thinking about it, I think it was a smart way to go. Plus, we're living in a new day and time. We don't like things to be so nebulous and obscure when it comes to secrets in games. We don't have either the patience or the time, I think, these days to sort that stuff out. But we do have the internet, which is a tool that we didn't have in the early days. But I think this was the way to go. And we're going to commence. Hop right to it. Let's embark on this very, 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 very legendary journey. You can see everybody's makeover now, 2020 edition. I guess technically 2019 when this originally came out. And it's the same as before. We got to get to Southroth, got to find our friend the Duke. I might be skipping a little dialogue here and there to speed things up, but again, I have a no commentary playthrough, unedited and complete if you want to see this in full detail, uninterrupted by me. Taylor's got a new look as well, still got the scar, new shirt. I'm kind of liking this shirt actually. Not his armor, but what he's wearing behind it. That's it's like pretty sharp, pretty sharp. Nice shade of purple. I would rock that. I think some characters fare better than others with the redesigns. And you're never going to please everybody, and I don't want to put the new artist down. But you can definitely see a difference in not just stylistic changes, which is going to be, that's just going to happen between different artists. But in terms of just overall quality, like if you look at the shading and just the depth of their presentation, I think you can really see a remarkable difference. So what do I mean? Let's find out. We'll go ahead and change. Now you could also do classic map, which is pretty much exactly like the dramatic edition, more or less, with some slight modifications. I'm fine with the map being what it is, so we're going to leave the map as is, but we want to look at the new characters, or the classic rather. And I guess we can change the music too for fun. Controller's really sensitive for this, by the way, so in case it looks like I'm spazzing out sometimes. Why they're playing this song right now, Kingdom Night, instead of Friendly Fight, the original, I don't know. I think that fit for this first battle a lot better, but that's just nitpicking. Really have no clue why they did that. So we're going to put that back. And really, I'm fine with the music for the most part. I listen to the old music so much anyway, and it's nice to hear a new version of it. Because apparently there can't be enough renditions of Langrisser. But I'm not complaining. So first thing we're going to do is collect this before I forget. And this change I really do like. Now your troops, any mercenary can pick up secret items as well as commanders. You don't have to do it with your leaders. So that is a lifesaver in a lot of situations. And a time saver. So Baldarov is going to... Actually, he's gonna defend. I was thinking I would bring him back with Ledin so he could just keep him boosted with attack ups, but we're going to be just fine. We're not going to try to maximize the experience here. We're just going to do what we have to do and try to keep everybody alive. Now, if Jessica or Taylor falls in this battle, I don't know if that's going to affect their ending like it did in previous versions, specifically Dramatic Edition I'm thinking of, but I'm just going to err on the side of caution and assume that it will. And actually, let's start off with this. And right off the bat, that gives us a level up. Which in a lot of ways seems ridiculous, but hey, there's a method to the madness. And we're going to advance forward just a little bit while keeping our formation. And what is his command set at for the default? Attack? No. Standby. You move when I tell you to. And similarly, we're going to just put him on standby so I don't have to worry about it later. And we're going to leave the battles on temporarily so you can see a few fights. And then we're going to take that off. Classic Narman. Now, I think she actually lucked out. Yeah, I don't know Taylor. He always did a little better in the original version for me. I think that Narm fared a lot better than most of the characters as far as the redesign. But that's just my own personal opinion. Feel free to disagree. Zelda was always straight Saiyan. As obnoxious as ever. He's kind of a cool character, but he doesn't really get a lot of action or screen time. We see him here, and then we'll see him one last time in Scenario 6, and that's it. This guy here, who used to just be, you know, faceless, no-name priest or mage in the original, he's been given a lot more character and a lot more significance in the story. So we'll see how that pans out for him and us. So these enemy mermen are surprisingly tough. I'm going to just let Taylor do what he wants to do with them because I'm not going to be able to really make much of that. Father's getting impatient. Fathers can do that. We are able to cast one spell, which I've already used, so we're just going to jump right to it. Before I do, maybe I should finish this off. It's kind of cold. I'm saying this like it's not a person. Yeah, let's just go ahead and do this. I think it'll be enough. And with this, we have the battle animations, which is a little different. And I know not everybody's a big fan. It's not terrible. You get a nice portrait of the character who's attacking when it's your commander or the enemy leaders. Looks pretty good, not bad. It's just the characters seem as if they're kind of touching from afar, how I'll say. It's like they're attacking psychically and the blows are just landing. It's not as much direct combat. So it makes it feel slightly less intense than it did in, say, Warsong or Langrisser IV. One of those. Langrisser V. Even Langrisser II. I always found Langrisser II's battles to be a little less intense or interesting than some of the other ones, but they're still not bad. And I'd still put them above this. But it's not terrible. Again, I'm not dogging it. I'm just saying that it feels a little cheaper than it had to. I believe this will raise our critical rate, so in some instances that can be just as useful, if not more useful, than raising attack. I know everybody loves to focus on attack because it's kind of important. It allows you to do what you need to do, but I think defense and critical are underrated as it relates to winning the fight. So we're going to try it out and see how it goes. I've only just started using it myself, so I'm no expert. You tell him. And Castle is another character who I don't think was in the original at all, but he was in Dramatic Edition. I don't know if that was his name, but he was there. I remember because he was that Earthquake casting Sage, who was surprisingly powerful. And they're just kind of running up against a brick wall here, full speed. Leave a nasty mess on the wall there, and the pavement. But he's there to patch them up, those who are still standing. It's better than him casting attack magic. Though Volkov is really not under any sort of threat from them. I'd be more worried for Jessica, but she's far enough away to where she's not at risk yet. As per usual, they start us near troops who we can actually deal with. In the original, fighters had the advantage against archers. In this version, archers are kind of taking a back seat and they got spearmen, which weren't a class in Warsong. So we have the advantage there. That's why we start off next to them, because they're not completely heartless and they want us to get a little experience. And while I'm thinking about it, because this does get us XP, and I do want a little bit. And it's harder to get up the walls here. Very unforgiving, so we're just going to do this. And what I like about this is you don't have to turn the battles off to skip them entirely, so this is the best of both worlds. I can have them on for when I need to see them, and let's get you patched up. And I can skip them when I don't want to. Like, we can watch this one if we want. And I really thought that would do it. So, you know what? This is stupid, but a little impatient. There we go. Now, this horseman is supposed to be going over here. They're going to pick up that treasure that is next to him so he doesn't have to worry about it. And just for fun, let's see how he does against him. I'm glad he's amused. I don't think this is going to work out too well for him, though. And in phase. Unfortunately, there's no English voice option for this game. I'm not complaining because honestly, I didn't expect this to get a translation, so I'm just grateful for that. But it does mean that there's no subtitles either. So outside of primary text like that, like if the characters are talking in battle, situations like that, we won't know what they're saying. So that's unfortunate. But again, budget is a thing. Nowadays, it's a huge issue. And this is a relatively small publisher, I'm sure. So, and I'm sure it was a time issue too. This game would not have come out nearly as quickly if they had gone full stop, all out with the voices, I'm sure. So, I'm just grateful for what we have. Something is definitely better than nothing. Especially when it comes to a series like this, where most of them have not been released outside of Japan in any form or fashion officially. I hate to say it, but sometimes you gotta take what you can get. And he's hurting himself more than us. I'm okay with that. Voice acting overall seems to be pretty decent. Some characters are more impressive than others. The one thing I will complain about there is when it comes to characters casting spells, their lines are pretty much the same across the board. So it ends up sounding very bland and very generic and very repetitive. Like everybody says the same thing if they're casting an attack spell, if they're casting a meteor, if they're casting defense, whatever it is, they pretty much say the same line. And a lot of the voice actors are kind of hard to distinguish, so sometimes it sounds like the same character is speaking all the time. So that's a little bit dodgy. Another thing, as it pertains to sound, it's unfortunate, but all the characters make the same sound effect when they move, regardless of if they're on a horse, if they're on feet, if they're flying, you know, that sound effect, everybody makes it. That seems kind of lazy and cheap. And I think it's unfortunate, but that's where we're at. But again, it's more good than bad, so don't get it twisted. And don't take what I'm saying hard. I'm not putting the game down. It's good. It's fun. It's a lot of fun, actually. It's more fun than I expected it to be. But there's some things that could have had a little more work put on them, a little more polish, a little more spit shine. That's all. And he might suicide himself before we can take out this last spearman. If that happens, that's fine. Doesn't really matter. I think everybody can hold out just a little bit longer for me to clean that up and get out of here, and that's all we're gonna do. Not gonna linger, not gonna try to feed off of Taylor's leftovers. And speaking of which, he's not gonna have any. Okay. That's the first time since I've played this version that he's managed to take that guy out so quickly. In fact, he usually doesn't take him out at all. He usually, oh wait, no. It's 50-50, but I usually leave before he can finish that fight up. It just usually just gets landlocked. But okay, I'm gonna roll with it. Good job, guys. So he's probably gonna start heading east to help out there, where the help is actually needed. Now I could stick around for a few extra turns. If I do, something's gonna happen. They might get some reinforcements, who knows? But I'm not gonna worry about it. But just know that that is a thing that can happen if it doesn't. It's nice to hear some of these old tunes again. I remember Dramatic Edition ended up replacing a lot of the soundtrack. So while they introduced some good new music, there were a lot of old favorites that were conspicuously absent. And I know a lot of folks are feeling a way about that, myself included, so. But on the flip side, all of those exclusive new tracks from Dramatic Edition are not here at all, so it's kind of the flip. Ironically, now it's like I kind of miss those songs. But it was only a few of them, so it's no big deal. Out of range, they can probably do this. And there we go. Yeah, save it for the afterlife. And we're going to pick up some gold. So we've got gold and a large shield. Now we can start moving forward, and he has no movement at all right there. So this counts as castle wall. Movement in this game is very, very odd. And unfortunately, there's not as much variety here either. And again, if it seems like I'm complaining a lot, I apologize, but I just got to compare the good and the bad, to be honest. So I just want to make it clear, I do like this game, but there are definitely a few things that if they do any more remakes or remasters in the future regarding this series, I hope they'll keep these things in mind. Movement is a lot less varied and unique here. Everyone pretty much either has 5 or 6 movement as a base, with the exception of flyers maybe. Horsemen have a movement of 6 only, and they are not affected by terrain in the same way. In fact, it seems like most units aren't, or if they are, it's the same as every other class. What this means is, for the first time in a Langrisser game, to my knowledge, horsemen can traverse castle walls and ramparts, all those areas that they typically couldn't move in, and they're not impeded indoors at all. Which is odd, because that was a mechanic that made things more challenging, but I thought it was in a good way because they're horsemen. And I like the fact that they took that into account. It was very intelligent on their part, you know. What sense does it make for a horseman to scale castle walls? It doesn't. Or shouldn't they be hindered a little bit indoors? Because again, this is all to scale. You have to assume it's close quarters indoors, so they'd have a little bit more trouble moving around, right? I would think. So that's another one of those changes. It makes it easier in some aspects, but I don't know, it removes some potential technical elements that came into play. And that's unfortunate, but no big biggie. Some units are stronger than before, some are weaker. Some troop types don't seem to matter as much in the long run as far as effectiveness or ineffectiveness. In some cases it still applies, but it's not as stark as it used to be, where archers against horsemen in Warsong was just instant death of the horsemen. Not the case now. Or even spearmen versus cavalry. Typically the spearmen would wipe them up no problem. Not necessarily the case here, depending on certain things. And I think the biggest change was with the monks. It used to be the monks could wipe out slime no problem. Not really. In fact, ironically, they're like the weakest units that I've seen against slimes in this version, which is a bit weird. It's just, it feels wrong. It just feels off. But we'll just look at that more in scenario 4, which is not that far off. These first few are pretty easy to get through. We're just going to see if we can get him to level 5 really quickly before we skedaddle on out of here. Before we scoot. Make sure we've got all the loot. We do. You know what? He doesn't need it, but maybe they could use it. We'll give them a little bit of boost. Keep their spirits high. And their vitality as well. Gotta keep those hearts pounding. Those pulses pulsating. I know you're an elder, but you still got some life in you, Cosm. Don't drop just yet. Taylor's moving in quick. I don't think he'll be able to find room, but if he can get in to fit in, he might make an impression. He's actually pretty strong here. And I've always thought he was pretty strong. I know some folks are not a big fan of the Serpent Man, but you're gonna see serpents are pretty OP, especially here. On or off sea. And that's another change to movement. There's shallows and the deep water. In the deep water, nobody who isn't aquatic can move at all. At all. So, a lot of little nuances. A lot of slight changes that you might not catch at a first quick glance. But they're there. And it makes a bit of a difference. And hopefully that level's going to make a huge difference in the next battle. So we just need to sit out one more round and we're good to go. I don't know what turn it is, I wasn't paying attention. Let's see if anybody decides to show up and show out. I really like the look of the water in this game too. It's simple, but it gets the job done. Okay, here we go. Now this is one of those instances where I wish I put it back to remaster so you could get the little CG portrait. It doesn't look too great, but still. Again, that's what the no commentary is for. Though I might have finished this up before he even showed up in that one. I don't remember. I wouldn't give you Langrisser if you begged like a dog. You tell him. And you can talk tough all you want because he's never going to reach in time. I'm getting out of here long before that can happen. Okay, we can skip these fights. Don't care, don't want, don't need. So yeah, scenario 1. Probably a lot tougher to clear out all the enemies in this version. I haven't attempted it yet. I really don't want any piece of these cannons. Interesting naming choice. Maybe it's just because I'm used to grenadiers. I'm not even sure how you pronounce that word. Grenadier. Grenadier. We'll say grenadier, that sounds right. Probably should have looked it up before. Anyway, so he's got grenadiers, aka cannons. He himself has 410 HP and a lot of attack and defense and magic. No thank you. We're getting out of here. He's level 5. That's more than enough for right now. And the scenario is cleared. If he's still there. It's fine though. We all know how this is going to end. Not well. So, get a lot of gold for our efforts, and I wasn't paying attention to that, but thankfully Ledin is the MVP. MVP is really important here. That's another new feature that's welcome. It's basically a way for somebody to earn extra points called CP. What is CP? Well, the game's about to tell us. In the commander menu, you can change your class, and that's where CP comes in. I guess that means class points. So if you go to the class tree, you can see that he actually has enough and a bit extra to get his next class. Now, both come with their pros. More pros than cons, actually. You can't really go wrong with either class. Because Lord is going to put him closer to either of his final strongest classes, we're just going to go for Lord. Plus, it's going to give him the heal spell, which is going to be crucial for how I play this. I don't want to go that long without being able to heal with my main character, so Lord it is. No thought about it. And in this game, anytime you unlock a class, you unlock a new skill to go with it. Now he has Monarch's Rule, but you have to equip them. And one thing about this class tree that I like, a good change that is welcome, is you can regress to any classes that you've passed up along the way. And as you unlock stronger classes, the cost to unlock older classes that you skipped will get cut in half each time, I believe. So if we unlock this class before going to Silver Knight, I think it's only going to cost 5 CP to unlock that. And you can still go back to unlock those classes to get their troop types, their skills, and their spells. But you can revert back to an older class at will. So let's say for some reason I want to debuff myself and make myself a fighter, maybe to give a little bit of artificial challenge to the game. You can do that. Or say if I like the mobility of another class that I used to have, if I was a flying unit, for example, you can do that. But no, we want him to be a Lord. And as far as skills, how good is Monarch's Rule? He would lose HP, but he would gain attack, defense, and the same for his mercenaries. I think he has enough HP right now to do what he needs to do, so we're going to do that. I think we'll be fine without the extra 20. We're going for versatility and well-roundedness right now. So, before we begin the next scenario, we're going to quickly shop. There's really nothing here. That would raise his attack, so might as well. Money is not an object here, so we're going to do that. Because why not? We can. Volkov again doesn't need anything. He is already the man of the hour, every hour. And I think that's good. That's good. This was a lot longer for part 1 than I expected, but what can I say? This is my first time doing this in a while. And, you know, just shaking the dust off. You know how that goes. Getting rid of these cobwebs. But thanks for joining me, guys. And moving forward, we're going to have a lot more to say and do as pertains to Langrisser. Thanks for joining me. Thanks again for everybody who's been asking me where I was. If I'm coming back, please come back. Thank you. You're the reason why I am back. And I just want you to know that. And this is very much for you, all of you. So with that having been said, let's try to keep things a little bit more brief for episode 2, where we take on the Shikas, everybody's favorite. Till then, have a wonderful day. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay sane. Until the next video, see you soon.